Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. This meeting is being broadcast by Westford Cable Access TV and recorded for playback online. Attendees are reminded that by attending this meeting, you're consenting to your likeness and audio being used and rebroadcast by Westford Cable Access. We'll start with the 7 p.m. agenda item, which is open forum. Any members of the commission have anything for open forum?
Not that we haven't aired at the table already.
Matt?
Just today received from the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments that they will be able, through their 2025 Technical Assistance Program, be able to assist in updating the town's open space and recreation plan. I'll have more information on that in future meetings. There is a financial component that we do have to, a financial matching that we do have to contribute, but still very preliminary with that currently. But just, we are working towards updating our OSRP, which does expire in August. I don't know if we'll get it done in time for, without a little brief gap, but we're working towards staying compliant. Additionally, we've received the conservation restriction reviewed by the Division of Conservation Services for the Parcel B, the open space at Diane Lane, that the commission will be holding the CR on. It has been reviewed and is ready for local signatures. That'll be on the upcoming agenda. Additionally, I've received the reviewed draft of the conservation restriction for the Spalding Hill Estates CR. So making progress on some of the CRs associated with the open space subdivisions that have been progressing in town.
Okay. Do any members of the audience have something for open forum? No.
Anyone coming from the library?
So that's our next 7 p.m. agenda item. It's a continuation of public hearing and issue order of conditions for the Town of Westford, Library Department.
I can certainly. They have a scheduling conflict. They are currently meeting with the Historical Society, the Historical Commission, and so if there are any comments on the.
Did they have any?
No, they're
good?
Yeah, the OPM reviewed it. There was revised, or an updated comment letter from town engineering, that most of that all the, their comments regarding site plan and stormwater had been addressed, or could be conditionally addressed.
Jim?
There was one issue I brought up last week. There was a note on one of their drawings. I think it might have been the erosion control drawing. That said that they were going to ask the selectmen for permission to use some of the selectmen land, which I believe is within our jurisdiction in the inside the 100-foot buffer, as a staging area for building a wall that's back there. And they said they were going to ask the selectmen to get permission, and then I said you got to add erosion control around it and indicate where, and in the notes indicate what exactly you're going to be putting there. I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah, so
We go along with condition 35.
Yeah, and we wanted to, I think I did, must not have gotten highlighted as a change from kind of the standard condition. But between the construction area and the wetland resources, I wanted to give them some flexibility again, because they even said, they kind of the plan and the easement certainly overshows kind of their, what would be.
Did they get permission to use the selectmen's land?
My understanding is that they're going to town meeting to get permission, because they can't just, the select board can't just grant, is my understanding.
Okay, that's fine. So they don't have their permission, they don't have our authorization to go beyond the current plan.
Right, you know,
Okay, fine.
so. Any other comments, typos?
So if, so Jim, that was just,
That was an issue I brought up last meeting. But
Okay.
if they don't have permission, then they're not gonna use storage, and they're not gonna have erosion
Okay.
control, they're not gonna go inside the buffer area.
okay. So, but it wasn't factoring into something you'd want to note in the order of conditions?
No, because they said that they were gonna try to do that, but they
Okay.
didn't. So they don't have the okay to do that.
Okay, so, does anybody have any comments, questions, or feedback on the orders? Can I have a motion?
Any public?
Any comments on this public hearing by members of the audience? Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So our other 7 PM agenda item is a public hearing and issue order of resource area delineation for Zom Living LLC at 37 Powers Road. The applicant has requested a continuance without discussion to February 12th, 2025. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to February 12th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to what would have been our 7:25 PM agenda item, so I'll just call it another 7 PM agenda item. It was an appointment with Bobby's Ranch for the use of Emmett and Neshoba Brook conservation areas. This item is being rescheduled to February 12th as well.
We should probably suggest to them when they come in February 12th to bring along a draft of an agreement.
Yeah, no,
gone on quite a
it's
while.
on me, it's on me just to finish up the memorandum of understanding. And
Well,
just,
draft, not finish it, but
yeah,
draft. it. Okay.
there was kind of the start of a draft the commission looked at a couple months ago.
Right.
And haven't been able to carve the time to finish it up.
Okay.
And send it to them for review. In addition to the map kind of having their, what how they call the trails so that there's kind of a consistent naming
Yeah, we never had a
nomenclature.
map that showed actually.
Yeah, it's all just kind of
trail
trails.
names.
Yeah. Okay, so,
If we don't have that, there's really no use proceeding with meetings on February 12th, whatever. But if we do get that, that'd be great.
yes.
We're clearing hopefully clearing a lot off the deck tonight, and that would be.
Is there something for me to sign?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay. And moving on to our 7:05 PM agenda item, it's a request for certificate of compliance, English Street Properties LLC, 7 Paul Thompson Road.
Good evening, Matt Waterman, Land Tech Consultants. Here with me is Walter Erickson with English Street Properties LLC. This is kind of a new item on the next agenda item, 7 Carl Thompson. I was unaware of this order of conditions that was outstanding. I think Walter was as well, and Matt was going through his files and came across it on the town property records, or the property file. It's an old order of conditions that was issued in 91. I believe it was for the building that ended up being built at number 2 Industrial Way, because the name on the plan was El Paco Fencing, which ended up being built at number 2 Industrial, or Carl Thompson Way. So it was never built. There was no work that was associated with it that we're aware of, and it's expired. The work never started, and we're requesting a certificate of compliance.
Is there something you check off on there that says that nothing was built?
On the certificate of compliance,
Good.
just since there are 3 options, or actually 4 options. One being complete certification, partial certification, so if, one house in a subdivision, invalid order of conditions, so, and then the last is ongoing conditions and there were no ongoing conditions. The order was maybe 6 pages.
So which one applies? to-
Invalid order. It's no longer valid.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's
Work
expired.
was never done, and it's expired, and I think that's, in my hypothesis, is that's why there's a lot of these orders from,
Years and years back.
which never got certificates of compliance because they were invalid, and that was kind of
Okay.
the administration's practice, but times change.
So, any comments or questions? Can I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-0471?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Then moving on to our other 7:05 PM agenda item, it's continuation of a public hearing and issue order of conditions for English Street Properties LLC.
Good evening. For the record, again, Matt Waterman, Atlantic Consultants. Here with me, Walter Erickson, English Street Properties LLC. This is our second meeting. Our last meeting was your last meeting a couple weeks ago on January 8th. We went through the majority of the site plan, the plan, the impacts within the buffer zone. We reviewed the majority of that with the commission. I think there was just a couple comments that were all specific to snow storage. We updated the snow storage area and on the site plan. We added signs, no snow storage within the 100-foot wetland buffer area on that southwest corner. And then we also enlarged some of the snow storage areas where we could, outside of that 100-foot buffer. So I think we addressed all the commission's, I think it'd be on the site plan, you might have gone by it.
See one?
One back. Yeah, oh, one more?
I think that's it. I think the signs are all along the edge of the pavement there.
Probably that
I think there are 50 feet on center. I think there was 5 or 6 of them.
Item key, here you go. Fine, no snow storage, 5 of them, yep.
And then we, like I said, we enlarged kind of in the areas of the larger islands adjacent to the building. We increased the snow storage where we could in those areas to make up for what we took away.
Do any members of the commission have comments or questions? Matt, do you have any? Oh,
I put in new batteries in that, it's really,
Thank you.
yeah, don't look at it. No, just, one of the findings has, has a strike through that the certificate of compliance was issued tonight, and since it has been issued, that will be addressed, but.
okay. Do any members of the audience have any comments or questions on this project? And you've all had a chance to review the orders of conditions? Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Joe, too.
Stay warm.
Guys, too.
Moving on to our 7:10 PM agenda item. It's a continuation of public hearing and issue order of conditions for Morgenstern, 7 Kings Pine Road.
Take this one for, during the commission's last public hearing, one kind of thing that came up through my observation was that there are a couple of roof drains that discharge to approximately 10 feet within 10 feet to the bordering vegetated wetlands. In speaking with the wetland consultant and the property owner, they're evaluating either dry wells below the roof drain or some form of spreader into the lawn as opposed to kind of directing them to their present location. I'd like to amend this to read roof drains presently discharging to within 10 feet of the BVW shall be modified to include current best management practice and shall be reviewed and approved by the commission or its agent. Some, give them some
What
flexibility.
do they want? I mean, typically, we would tell them, they'd
Well,
let
they
us
haven't-
know, and we would say like
So they haven't spoken with the actual contractor yet. And so in terms of whether it's, and if the commission prefers dry wells, a dry well, then, we can certainly, specify,
maybe we specify something, and then if they don't like it, then they can come back and,
Have a discussion.
Yes.
the suitable equivalent. That way, we're just not leaving it this
Wide
way.
open.
Yep.
It's not too open?
Yeah,
Okay,
Put in dry wells then, that's what I would recommend.
yeah.
yeah, that's what we would
But also I
typically
like that
recommend.
dry well, but then also that it's got to circle back for the approval by the commissioner or its agent so that we can see exactly where the dry well is going to be located.
And size.
And the size, yep.
Okay.
Design it based on rain.
So you got the wording?
Yep.
Okay. So, are there any comments or questions on this project from members of the audience? So can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
We'll be home.
Hey,
My apologies.
Sorry.
you never know.
He doesn't want you
this
to.
is,
That's the
Put it
previous,
in.
that's
so
seven.
it's Carl Thompson,
That's seven.
okay. So now we're moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, which is Yang, 88 Tadmuck Road.
So why don't you lead off with your site visit?
Right, that was gonna be my.
Okay,
Yeah,
So January,
On the coldest
9th
day of
and
the
10th.
year.
I don't know, we may give it a run today. Met with, all members of the commission except Eric,
Yeah, I was.
to observe, and Marilyn, sorry, to observe the conditions as presently, exist. The property line was staked, or the property, stakes at the property line still, were present, and so both the alteration on 86 Tadmuck Road and alterations, including the removal of vegetation on 88 Tadmuck Road, was able to be observed. Included in the commission's meeting packet did include 2 photos from the, a couple of the pine stumps beyond the erosion controls, that still exhibited, chainsaw shavings. In addition, at the front of the house, between the house and Tadmuck Road, the multiple pine tree stumps that were removed, were observed as well. If the commission, any of the commissioners have other, comments or would like to weigh in.
The ones in the front yard, there was one tree that was cut that's outside our jurisdictional area, just outside it. Yeah, I think there were 4 that were within.
so, and you had, so during that site visit, we had observed, the number of additional cut trees that you had mentioned in the enforcement order?
Yes, including, and again, that's also partly based off of the plan submitted that documented, the trees that were removed, that were identified on the original approved plan with which were no longer there. Again, within the proposed scope, or within the proposed limit of work, or the original limit of work.
Any other comments people would like to record from the site visit? No?
That's everything.
Okay. So, so looking at the enforcement order, you've had a chance to read the updated draft that Matt sent. Any comments or feedback on it?
Need to determine the caliber of the trees that you wanted replanted.
That's a good idea.
Well, there was a hash mark in
Yeah,
there.
there was a lot
You
of,
know, as a place, just a place marker as to it, but, I'm thinking
do
it should be
we,
something substantial and not like,
Has to be, yes.
So-
Larger size, definitely.
and
or
I
they were
guess,
supposed to come, or somebody should be telling us and, or we should be telling them, I guess,
I
but
think we should tell them.
well, and yes, because there's a, the restoration plan needs to be prepared by
Yeah,
a
right.
registered landscape architect, because some of it is, in terms of thinking the caliber of the tree, do we want a caliper that's large enough that would require, for example, irrigation to get established, or do we want something that's going to be able to establish naturally without that additional steps taken?
Or maybe instead of 1 to 1, it's a 2 to 1 because of the caliber of the tree.
That's certainly a possibility as well. Noel?
How old was this trees? Like, I know there was a whole range.
I can't answer that.
'Cause I was looking at the rings.
dendrochronologist?
They were, I was looking at the rings, there were a lot.
They were about like
Yeah.
that big. I don't know,
Yeah.
how many rings.
Count tree rings, I bet they'd be
But they're all
80 to
about, like-
100 years in one
Like
of
30
those.
I was
years,
gonna say
50 years.
I bet between 50 and 100,
Yeah.
So the impact
but
on,
I didn't count.
So you can't replace it that way.
so the impact should be commensurate, right?
So more
I
trees.
don't know how we do that, but.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of, in terms of those trees having gotten to that size, they would probably have shaded out some of the adjacent trees. So there's an opportunity here, yes, to more quickly establish a buffer by replacing more than 1 to 1. And I don't know what people's thoughts are.
And by picking the right species, we won't see them again in 30 years. To try to cut them down because they're leaning over the house. 'Cause the ones in the front yard definitely would move towards, would aim towards the house, the open area. Whereas the ones down behind the building didn't look, they were
Well, and that's
held down slope quite a bit.
that's also a good, that's maybe someplace where we want to think about having different approaches, because where the trees between the erosion control and the wetlands were cut, that's a fairly open area. But you're right, where there were trees cut up near the street, that's still,
Not much room between there and the house. Right.
there's not that much room between there and the house. And I think it's not quite as open because of the proximity of trees across the street, et cetera, so that,
Well, do you want to tell them, or do you want to see in the restoration plan what they're proposing, yeah, and then us come back and say, no.
Well, but I guess some of it is, if we've got thoughts like down where the larger trees were removed, going with more of a 2 to 1 replacement or whatever, if there's some things that we can decide now while it's fresh in our mind, we'd like to see this, where the larger trees were taken out, this is the kind of restoration we'd like to see, versus up at the front, that's where we maybe would want to see trees,
Of a species that doesn't grow as much.
Or like a blueberry bush
yeah,
or something.
or things that don't grow as tall, yes.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
But, in the back where things could grow tall, you might want to see some of the,
Yes.
something more similar to what was removed. Maybe, maybe not the white pine, but, those were
Well, and
tremendous trees.
those
that
were
removed.
tremendous trees, that's at the bottom of a slope, but the other thing too is, because all of that canopy was lost, it may be one of those things that we want to see, based on the caliper, the size of, the caliper of the tree, the number of trees being planted, that canopy that would provide shade to the wetland restores more quickly.
Then we should be allowing somebody to, we shouldn't be making that recommendation right
Okay.
now.
No, but if we've got factors that are important to us that we will use to evaluate it, like where the outside the erosion control, we want to see trees, we don't want to see shrubs.
Well, back in the day when Bill was here, we'd always talk about when you were removing trees and shading and stuff like that, and how you were changing shading characteristics, and it was important to maintain that shading. So, small plants and small shrubs aren't going to provide the type of shading that was once there.
Okay.
So I would think the goal would be to try to mimic, to the extent possible, the shading relationship that previously existed prior to those trees being cut.
And in this case, you're talking about the area closest to the wetlands.
Right. And, is that for us to determine, or is that for whoever's preparing the restoration plan to at least make a proposal and then us look at it and say, this is okay, this needs to be more robust, but, instead of us
So having them
make that
come up,
determination now ourselves.
so having them come up with maybe more of a concept plan for us to review, as opposed to a finalized plan that we then go back, that maybe becomes a little bit more difficult to adjust.
With some suggestions from us.
Yes,
But we get to
Like the
review
2 to
it.
1.
2 to 1
to
down by
one.
the wetlands, and 1 to 1 with shorter growing trees in the front yard.
okay,
And the other thing, Margaret, if you're putting big trees at the back, like already mature trees, needs big equipment in the,
yeah, that's true, that it has to,
It's
we
gonna be-
want stuff that,
That's the leach
that could be,
field.
in the buffer zone, yeah.
yeah, that where hand tools would be used to plant it, but, so yes, in terms of thinking about the caliber of the tree being planted, what does it take, equipment-wise, to be able to plant one?
So let them tell us.
Yes,
That's part of
Okay.
what they're supposed
So
to be doing
that's-
as part of the restoration plan.
so that's what we're looking for. So do we want to review a conceptual restoration plan to make sure that they're going in the direction we want before they give us a final plan, or?
Sounds like a
think
good
so.
idea.
Well,
A
I mean,
lot of
we're still,
times-
I mean, the language still include, the language as
For
per-
review, okay.
For review and approval by the commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
This shall include, I think, a minimum of, and that's where we can certainly, based upon the commission's discussion, a 2 to 1 replanting of native trees within the buffer zone, and then kind of provide some direction as to, larger growing species, shall be located, are to be located at the rear, and, lower growing species, or, not as tall growing species, to be located along the
I
street.
think that's good guidance.
Yeah. Put that in writing.
I just said it, so I mean, I can.
So is there on, the TV recording?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see.
2 to 1.
So there's also the item number 6, which talks about fines.
Yes, so, thank you. Appreciate it. So, in order, for the commission to consider, them, fines, under the local wetland bylaw, it can be up to $300 per day, $300 per violation per special condition. So, that's, as written, it talks about 13 trees were removed. The 4 special conditions as previously stated in the enforcement order, 488 Tabnock Road, 13, 14, 32, and 34. And so altering the buffer of the jurisdictional wetland resource. So that's certainly, I defer to the commission, I include it as a placeholder, but defer to the commission.
So
Actually-
there's 4 conditions.
Well, but actually, if I could kind of rewind for a moment, when we talk about the 13 trees, does that include the 2 that were removed on the adjacent property that were not approved for removal?
Let's go back to the findings.
Ones that are our jurisdiction,
Yeah, they're in our jurisdiction,
but they're on somebody else's property.
right. They were originally supposed, they
I know.
they were shown on the plan. Yeah, and it just, so is the 13 including, oh, there's 11?
Yeah.
Okay,
13, 2 cedar trees of 5-inch and 10-inch diameter, and 11 pine trees, with diameters
Okay.
ranging from 16 to 36.
but
And
those,
so, and this plan also shows that 2 pine trees within the buffer zone locating on the adjacent property were removed without approval. So the
Okay.
13
is all on,
is on the subject property.
okay. So, back to the discussion of fines.
4 conditions that were violated, correct?
Yes,
We could charge up to 300 per violation per day,
Per instance.
per,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd say 125 for the 4, that would be a $500 fine. 1 for each of the 4 conditions.
okay.
We could go up to 3. You know, I'm thinking it's gotta be at least 500. So I'm just
Does-
looking at the 4 and I'm thinking 125 for each one, for a total of 5.
Do we want the number of trees? Given, this wasn't one tree, this was 13, several of which were extremely large.
Well, I'm starting there. If you
Oh,
want
okay.
to raise the ante, go for it.
Okay.
You know, I wasn't there, you were.
Okay,
I'm just looking at it
So
and
you're
saying,
starting the
I'm saying
conversation.
we need to do something.
yes, I agree. Any other people have,
I just think it has to be a mix. A mix, the restoration.
You think it should be 200 times 4?
No, no.
And then,
No, I think that's unrealistic.
so you're thinking a mix of,
Like, his 500 is a reasonable number to me, considering the amount that's gonna be spent now on the trees,
you mean the expense associated with the restoration plan?
which is their expense. That's
Okay.
I agree, I don't want to go any higher than the 500 total.
That's how I feel.
Okay,
There's also the issues between the 2 neighbors, that's not our deal, had nothing to do with it.
no, and this needs to be in no way does that
Exactly.
inhibit them
Right.
from any actions that they
Right.
want to
Right,
take.
we not involved in that at all.
because the order of conditions does not apply to their property.
Correct.
Okay, so,
Those 2 trees need to be replaced from,
yes.
so we would want their input on where and what.
Well, and
they would
that's,
want.
yeah, and I think Matt has that covered in the language of the restoration plan.
Right, and again, I'll end up deleting, this will end up reading more that a minimum of, using the commission's guidance of 2-to-1 replacement, a minimum of 4 native species tree plantings within the buffer zone, at least, 3 of which are, again, whatever. My intention is that they are larger than standard nursery stock.
Yeah, that would be my
You know,
intention as well.
and I tried going quickly on a local vendor's website to see kind of what standard nursery stock, what the minimum, what kind of their maximum caliper is, and I think it's about 3 inches is, for a deciduous tree. I think it's typically about 10 to 12 feet is the 3-inch caliper. So, 3-inch caliper or greater. And again, have that, with an addition that, a minimum of, if we're requiring, because the understory is fairly developed on the abutting property. That was something, observed on site. And, not just putting in 4 trees and, a native seed mix. I think establishing it with, the 4 trees at a 2-to-1 replanting, And then also, you know, an additional 4 shrubs, you know, something
Something shorter,
shorter and, you know, to,
still native, something
yeah,
shorter.
but also, and, you know, so the combination of trees, shrubs, ground cover, you know, gets that at least started, you know, functioning back. And again, this is all to be, you know, direction to be, you know, to the landscape architect to kind of figure out, you know, on a, you know, unfortunately, but fortunately, that is now the southerly facing edge of vegetation, so that will get more sunlight than, say, the opposite end, you know, kind of the southerly end of the property where you're gonna, you know, you're competing, it's gonna be shaded, you're gonna be competing with the existing pines that were left between 88 and the southerly property. So I think, you know, kind of removing, you know, the minimum, removing the at least of which must be of X, you know, number caliper minimum, to say, you know, at minimum of the largest standard nursery stock. And then, and again, the species shall be approved by the proper, you know, by the abutting property owner, in writing in advance, and approval shall not be unreasonably withheld. Again, you know, we kind of wanna move this forward, we wanna get it resolved, and, you know, we wanna get it to,
Planting in the spring?
yes. You know, we're currently, there's no planting going on now, so there's time to kind of be ready to go come
Yeah. So
April,
if we
May.
get a plan, we can take a look at it, you know, and make mods or modify it or approve it.
If you want to make the, if you want to change this and say, okay, in the back, I want to see a minimum of 3-inch caliper.
No, you're talking about an 86?
Yeah, I'm talking about on the abutting property. On the subject property, again,
But in the back, where these are, you know, where the trees were in our jurisdiction.
I would say, you know, at minimum, the size should be standard, you know, the largest standard nursery stock.
Then we'll just write that in.
Okay. So, Eric, you had talked about a fine of $125 for each of the,
Per violated order.
so the four conditions that were violated. So do I take that to be a motion to issue a fine of $500?
Well, I would,
Okay,
I mean, I can include that in the you know, in the final issue, issued enforcement order. I don't
Okay.
think we need to take.
Right, but
separate
in coming
action.
up with the number.
so,
Right.
and I was basically looking to see if we had, so that's your thought?
I'm okay with that. How
So
about
am I.
the rest of the commission?
Yeah,
Good with-
okay. So that would, yeah, so I think the commission is in agreement that that would be the fine to include in the enforcement order. So no, I need a motion to,
And then just as for kind of housekeeping, and was included in the original enforcement order, or the original draft enforcement order, but upon reading it, and as the property owner's representative and the property owners themselves are in attendance, remove that the violator and their designee attend a regular scheduled meeting.
I'm not hearing you. Say,
Remove number 7,
okay.
because it doesn't make sense. There you go.
well, and I think that was more targeted towards what happened at the last meeting where the property owner was in attendance.
Yeah, and again, I think that's a standard
Okay,
of enforcement order, you know, if I'm issuing it to say you need to come before the commission.
okay.
So that's,
So, item number 7 gets removed and the rest get reordered?
it'll actually just be deleted. They'll be bracketed deleted.
Okay,
So it keeps the numbering the same.
okay. So, can I have a motion to issue the enforcement order as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Now moving on to the continued public hearing and issuing an amended order of conditions.
Applicant had a chance to look at the order of conditions.
Name for the record.
For the record, my name is Robert Melvin. I'll be representing the applicant for an amended order of conditions.
Did they have any changes, comments? Did you on their behalf?
No, I haven't, no, I haven't, I don't have any.
Wasn't there one, I forget where you sent it, whether it's,
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that one. I was thinking that was part of the enforcement order.
yeah.
Yeah, we had requested to change, what's highlighted on the screen now. Instead of using the word incorrectly surveyed, we use the language inconsistently surveyed.
Inconsistent with what? The correct boundaries?
I'm sorry?
Inconsistent with what? The correct boundaries?
I gotta be honest, I'm not a surveyor, and I can't exactly explain that myself. This was sort of directed from our lead surveyor at my office.
I'm okay with, I think, again, it establishes why, we're here, why we're issuing the amended order, whether it's incorrect or inconsistent. I think it's, I would defer to the surveyors. If it came from the surveyors, I would, it's not without reason. I'd be okay with amending that finding to inconsistently, yeah, inconsistently as opposed to incorrectly, but defer to the commission.
I don't know if it was in the, I think it was probably in the enforcement order, there's already some phrase in there that talks about it, the errors in surveying were seeded, were accepted by the contractor.
Right.
So now we're only saying that they're
They were inconsistent, again, between,
Just say it was surveyed in error. It wasn't,
that would be
it wasn't
okay.
correctly surveyed. There were an error or errors.
I'm okay with that, because that's exactly the truth.
That is, and I'd rather have that there
I would
than
too.
to have somebody guess what were they saying.
Right, but that's why I'm saying.
Inconsistent is vague.
Inconsistent doesn't say what we're inconsistent with.
Right.
Right.
I can't go with inconsistent.
okay.
So surveyed an error.
Surveyed in error.
An error.
Or
Correctly
inaccurate?
surveyed or inaccurately surveyed, any of those would be okay.
Choose one.
In error is probably better.
Yeah, I think I'd go with in error.
Okay,
Okay,
Won't have any feedback
that'd be fine.
from the other.
okay. So you had, so we have the latest plan, we're just
Yes.
working with the order of conditions. Are there any comments or questions on this project by members of the audience?
Good evening, Ronald Deshane, 86 Tadmuck Road. I'm sorry I missed the beginning. Hey guys, you guys had something else earlier that you got able to get through this. So, is it possible for us to get an email of what I missed tonight?
I mean, so if you go on YouTube right now and watch back 30 minutes, you can
The West,
listen to the discussion as well.
basically, we talked through the draft enforcement order. We made some revisions in terms of what we were looking for. We included language about a monetary fine for the removal of trees on 88 Tadmuck Road. And then we issued that enforcement order. That was basically, that was the gist of the discussion up until we started talking with the applicant's engineer about we're now talking about the amended order of conditions for the adjustment to the leach field.
You can see all the language.
Right.
Here,
Yeah.
everything that was said.
So we issued the enforcement order,
Yes,
plan 500. And we're waiting a mitigation restoration plan.
and the restoration plan has two components. One of it is restoration to replace the plantings the trees that were cut on
Right.
88 Tadmuck Road, but also a restoration plan to include replacing the trees that were cut on your property, at
Okay.
86 Tadmuck Road. So there will be a plan that they will come up with,
That will
for,
need to be approved by us.
approved by us, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, getting back to the fines, what I was reading, this all falls on the owner,
The property owner.
not the contractors or the engineers, just the owner?
The property owner can deal with the contractor.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah, that's
All right.
between the property owner and the contractors that they've hired.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so they're moving along, there's a few more steps going forward.
So they have to come up with a restoration plan
That we approve of.
that we approve
Right.
so that they can start planting in the spring. We're now circling around to amending the order of conditions for the changes that they need to make to the leach field and that manhole for dealing with the drainage coming under the roadway. So that's the next piece of what needs to be corrected that we're talking about now.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Any more comments or questions from members of the audience? So I think at this point, can I have a motion to issue the amended order of conditions as amended?
As
Yes.
It's amended.
That's exactly.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We can do that and still work through the enforcement order.
Correct.
Okay.
Because that's independent of the,
So there's nothing we have to leave this open for.
no, because the public hearing was solely for the adjustments to the leach field and the drainage, correct? Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you all.
Be in touch.
You're welcome. Yep.
Know where it goes.
So moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item, it's a continued public hearing for Kavala, 20 Briarwood Road, Drive, sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Block from Morgan Exteriors, and this is Sandeep Kavala, the homeowner.
Good evening.
I don't know if you want to review what we went through last month. Basically, it was left that you wanted to see a plot plan with the 100-foot and also how the mitigation for the runoff, which we provided, Matt.
Yep, that's shown on screen. Also, it was provided at the receipts. So just the wetland, 100-foot wetland buffer as scaled from the septic design plan. Bisects the proposed addition and the deck, so, better, the area of disturbance is probably no closer than 90 feet, if I would venture a guess.
Again, just to reiterate, the net result also is going to be that when this is all done, there'll be 6 feet less that into the buffer zone that's currently is there, that's being torn down.
What's shown is the hashed?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
Matt, have you been out on site?
I have not made it to this property.
Okay, I'm,
Seen some pictures.
I've seen a lot of,
Yeah.
I've seen
no,
pictures.
I'm just thinking I think you had said at the last meeting that the ground sloped away, and I was just wondering if with the proposed straw wattles, would we need to kind of curve it around at the edge?
That is the edge. So from there, it goes down drastically. The rest of the whole lot is flat and grass.
Oh, okay,
So there's no need to go.
so that's the top of the slope.
Yeah, I mean, we should put up yellow caution tape. It's dangerous.
Okay.
It's steep. This is fine.
Jim?
I think we should get, I'm not sure about this, but the 100-foot wetland buffer line, that was drawn in not by the surveyor, but by somebody here.
This was done by the surveyor.
It was?
Yes.
Okay, all right, the whole thing is this?
This was surveyor,
Okay,
yep.
good.
No, this is
Because I
good.
saw that it was compiled from septic design plan, so it was, I'm thinking maybe the surveyor was involved with the
That's probably
septic
where he
system.
got his information.
Okay. But if the surveyor is okay with the diagram, that's it, good,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay,
no question.
It's fine.
Matt?
Just, it would be a negative determination, a conditional negative determination to, that the erosion controls be inspected prior to work commencing, and also that the, proposed work is, considered a minor activity under, recommend the commission make a finding that the scope of work is a minor activity under the Wetlands Protection Act 310 CMR 10.2 2B2E, I think. Pretty sure it's E. So, yeah, it's E or in that area.
And the intent of that finding
Is that the work proposed is greater than 50 feet from the wetland resource area in a proposed area of lawn, and adequate erosion controls are to be installed.
Okay. Actually, before we get going a little farther, are there any comments or questions on this project from members of the audience? Okay, so does that finding need to be stated for the record?
It's-
Or it's already in,
It will be
so
added
it's part of the
to,
conditional negative determination?
it's a negative determination 5,
Okay,
technically.
okay.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Negative
Negative determination is good in this case. So, can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination of applicability?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so Matt will be in touch with the paperwork.
Okay, so it's still 30 days before we get,
I'll discuss in the,
okay,
discuss with you tomorrow.
all right, thanks.
Okay,
Okay.
so we're moving on to our, well, it's not quite 7:55.
Are you in shock?
Close
I
enough.
I can take 3 minutes to go over the discussion action items again.
Sure.
It's been, as evident by the agenda, there's a lot going on in town, and I haven't been able to get to too much of it, but it is on my list, and I have, when I do finally catch a breath, I plan to, again, the long sought for pond fireworks, I will be getting a quote for, water testing for the, heavy metals.
The metals, yeah.
20 Keys Road, I don't have any action on currently. With the Stony Brook Conservation Area as split from the included from the last commission's agenda, we have 2 items, both the hiring of the beach attendant, which currently is possibly the farthest thing from my mind with the, but it can't fall off because it'll be here sooner.
It'll creep up
Yeah,
on
it'll
you.
be there
And, you know,
forever.
and then the year-end review with the summer camp operators, I was contacted by the camp director from Teamworks, and I just have not had an opportunity to follow up and schedule time to discuss kind of.
Sure.
I'm Ellen Hardy, and I'm representing the Board of Directors of the Westford Land Preservation Foundation, which holds the conservation restriction on East Boston Camp Stony Brook Acres. We came to you last June with concerns about how the summer camps would be run in the summer of 2025, and here we are in the end of January 2025. And that meeting that we were to have in August has not been held. And we just want to make sure that you know very clearly that as holders of the CR, we will not allow the kind of car traffic that has been going into the camps during the summer of 2025. There must be another arrangement. The CR does not allow for that kind of traffic, either on the road in and absolutely not up to the camps. That was only supposed to be for access for maintenance and the caretaker. So whether or not we ask that that be done soon, but whatever meetings you have, the camp operators, both the Recreation Commission and the other camp operator must know that the summer of 2025 is going to be different. And I will just tell you that in past, yes,
A Couldn't hear the last thing.
that the summer of 2025 must be different than previous summers in terms of automobiles and access in and out of the camp. Just historically, not for East Boston camps, well, certainly when it was a summer camp for East Boston, the children all arrived on a bus and were all unloaded simultaneously. When the YWCA had Camp Weedamoo out on Long Sought Pond, that was the same system. The children all came to the Rodenbush Community Center then, 50 years ago, got on a bus, and one bus went into the camp. So there is historical precedent for the children getting to the camps in that manner. So if the camp operators say it can't be done, it can be done. There are other ways to do it. So those are my comments on that. I also wanted to ask you quickly about what happened to Park Run, because I don't see it on the agenda, and I thought it had been postponed for 1 month.
I'm coordinating with the commissioners, and we'll be in touch to schedule a special meeting.
Okay.
The proponent has conflicts on Wednesday night,
Oh.
and so we're trying to work through getting everybody in the meeting room at the same time, and especially with some of our agendas now. Granted, it's only 8 o'clock now, with some of the previous agendas being lengthy
Very late.
and
I understand. Great.
in respecting everybody's time and kind of being considerate, having kind of this as a special meeting with, you know, this is the sole topic, and, you know, we're not having applicants who are, you know, sitting, or representatives, sorry, waiting to get to, while, you know, a chewy discussion ensues. So I'll be in touch with the commission and also yourself and
Especially
the
just,
members
or
of.
Andrea, either the chair or myself. Wonderful. So any other questions? But I just want to be sure that's on the record.
Jim?
We heard pretty forcefully from Ellen that the Westford Land Preservation Foundation would not be willing to accept anything like the traffic patterns that we've had in years past. Last summer, although we didn't have a meeting of all the interested parties, we did meet with the camp operators. And they made it very clear that they have a contract right now that doesn't require them to hire a bus to carry the kids in and out, that they wouldn't be able to do that, they couldn't do it. I know you said it's possible, but I'm just recounting what the meeting held from the operator. They told us about 10 different ways that they wouldn't be able to do it, wouldn't be able to do it, wouldn't be able to do it. So that leaves us in a difficult position. So I think what my suggestion is that one thing we should ask is is town council about what possibility we could have of getting out of our contract.
Well, I think because one of the challenges is that the camp program that Teamworks runs.
Correct.
Takes children up to the age of 4, so you are now looking at children needing to be in booster seats. And so that adds a wrinkle to the school bus situation that I think did not exist in prior
That was
times.
one of their objections, yeah. There were multiple
I think
reasons.
town council's opinion would be great, because, you know, if in fact you have entered into a contract that
Yep.
violates the CR, I don't know what the answer is to
don't-
that,
I don't
because we've
either.
never run into this
Yeah.
in the 20 years that we've,
So I think we should get legal opinion of what our options might be, and to do it sooner rather than later, because camp opens in 4 months.
Jim.
They're probably taking reservations and X amount of money, so they need to charge
Right,
more.
yeah. Certainly, we'll get this out to town council and, again, kind of
Excellent. Great.
multi-pronged kind
That's a
of
good thing.
inquiry.
The operator knows of some level of the concern. It was mostly about the condition of the road that was involved, and then a general concern about traffic. But
Well, we-
that was about it. Never met.
We look forward to working with you on a solution. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
Let's see. So now we're moving on to our 7:55 PM agenda item. It's a public hearing for 88 Main Street Realty LLC for 26 Dunstable Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, at 7:55 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of 88 Main Street Realty LLC for the abandonment of a failed septic system leaching facility and installation of a new pump chamber within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 26 Dunstable Road.
Good evening, I'm Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions, and I'm here on behalf of 88 Main Street Realty. We'll wait for Matt to get the plan up. But basically, what we have proposed before you is a septic upgrade for the existing dwelling. This is the back of the dwelling here. That's okay. The existing 3-bedroom dwelling. Currently, it's serviced by a 1,000-gallon tank and then a leaching pit next to the fence towards the rear of the property. There's a bordering vegetated wetland on the west side of the property. And this is the 100-foot buffer zone associated with it, 50-foot offset, which runs down to the corner of the house. So we conducted soils testing towards the rear of the property, test holes 1 and test hole 2. There's an in-ground pool directly behind the house, which is fenced in all the way around. So what we're proposing to do is come out and reuse the existing 1,000-gallon tank that's going to flow by gravity to a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, which is going to pump the liquid up to a leaching area composed of the Presby EnviroSeptic. So the leaching area is completely outside the 100-foot buffer zone, but the connecting pipe to connect the existing tank to the pump chamber, and then a portion of the force main is within the buffer zone. So we're proposing sedimentation and erosion control composed of straw wattles all along the edge of the limit of work within the 100-foot buffer zone. This plan has been approved by the Westford Board of Health, and I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Jim?
How do you plan to get construction equipment back to the the pump tank and the field?
I think they're gonna have to take out a section of this fence and go between the pool and the shed.
What kind of erosion control are you gonna propose for that side of the plan then?
This is actually extremely flat here, and all that is outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
So the fence will,
You shouldn't have any runoff coming from that area.
so the fence will come down on the side of the pool?
Correct. They can take out the fence at the end of the driveway here, and this is actually all paved, and they should be able to go in between the shed and the in-ground pool. It's gonna be a tight fit, and actually they went around behind the back of the shed with the backhoe to dig the test holes, but they're not gonna be able to get the construction equipment through there.
I think from the scale of the diagram, that shows like five or 6 feet between the property line
And the fence line there?
and the.
Yes.
And the fence line, yeah. It doesn't look like much more than that between the property line and the shed.
Correct.
I'd like to have it written into the plan somewhere, how they're gonna access the site.
As a, say, condition of a determination?
I think it's really, there's only one way in and out of here.
Yeah,
It's not possible to come in on this side.
You're gonna breach the erosion control on the downhill side.
But
And it's sloped.
Yeah, so the end of the house is actually a walkout here, and then it's pretty, it's not steep,
That's
but it
erosion
goes from
control area,
94
right?
up to 98.
Yeah.
But that's your barrier right here.
Correct. So there's no work proposed and no access from this side. They would, it's not, I don't think it's possible to get the equipment through the front yard, down this slope, and then back up here. It would not be feasible.
Okay, so you're on this side then, right?
Correct. That's really the only option.
The plan is, you're not gonna worry about the well, the gas line, the water line, but the fence is gonna come out.
The fence will come out, the gas line and the water line are under the paved driveway.
No clearing within the 100-foot buffer? I know you're proposing some clearing outside of the, with this being the 100-foot buffer.
I tried to situate the pump chamber in this, so this is the edge of the brush line / tree line.
Yep.
They should be able to sneak the force main without interrupting too much. Most of that, there's a couple of dead trees right around test hole 1. I think they were right behind it. And then a lot of it is bittersweet, actually,
It's always bittersweet.
which is why the trees are dead. Unfortunately.
Seems okay.
If I may, in terms of conditions, if the commission, for the commission to consider, one, erosion controls shall be inspected prior to the start of work. And then also, to Jim's point, if I can certainly include a sentence and condition that construction access shall be south of the north, north is north is to the bottom, so to the south, southerly of the existing dwelling, you know, to that side of the pool.
Property line should all be marked, so they'll stay on the right.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
No, we just-
I mean,
we just-
I know, but also,
One's
but,
permanent.
you know, that's their contractor's, you know, responsibility, and
Jim's like, keep it to the right,
Yep.
keep it to the left.
Okay. Any comments or questions from members of the audience?
The omniscient
Is-
observer.
I want a picture of this clock.
no, don't say that yet.
Okay.
Don't say that yet.
So could I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to our 8 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing for Quinlan 18 Snow Drive.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, at 8 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Cheryl Quinlan for the abandonment of an existing septic system, installation of a new septic tank, and leaching facility, and removal of vegetation within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands, bordering lands subject to flooding and an intermittent stream at 18 Snow Drive.
Again, I'm Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions, and I'm here on behalf of Cheryl Quinlan for her property at 18 Snow Drive. An existing 4-bedroom dwelling. Right now, the dwelling is serviced by an existing well out here in the front. This is the 100-foot radius arc associated with the well. Currently, it's got a probably 900-gallon tank in the area of the existing proposed tank, and then a leaching facility in the side yard adjacent to the garage. There's a neighboring well fairly close to the property line in the front, and that's the 100-foot well arc associated with their well. And then the septic system for the neighboring properties is in this general vicinity here, and their well is over on the other side. Towards the rear of the property is bordered in vegetated wetland with the intermittent stream in it, and this is the limit of the floodplain, this line here, cuts through the shed, and then across the back of the property. So we went out and conducted 2 test holes, test holes 1, test holes 2, and ran a perk test, and we had a water table here that varied from 7 feet to 8 feet. So what we're proposing to do is come out to a new 1,500-gallon 2-foot permanent tank. That's going to feed to a 1,000-gallon pump chamber and pump the liquid up into a system composed of Presby Enviroseptic that's 32 feet long by 18.75 feet wide. This system provides some enhanced treatment. It does have a 5-foot groundwater offset where it's less than 100 feet to the existing well. So basically we're 56.5 feet off the existing well. We like to stay out of the 100-foot offset to the well, but that pushes us way towards the rear of the property and almost on top of the well. And so it's kind of a balancing act, trying to maintain a minimum 50-foot offset to the well and maximize the offset to the wetlands. So at its closest point, the leach field is going to be 55 feet from the edge of the well. So this system is put in level. The grade gradually slopes back towards the rear of the property, so it's 98 next to the garage, and it drops down to 96, and then 94 towards the shed, and then 92 down near the limit of the floodplain. So at the rear of the system, we're proposing a polyliner just to meet the minimum grading requirements and try to keep the fill as far from the edge of the wetland as possible.
So it's maximum feasible compliance, and he's put his leaching field bait back where the other one was.
Correct.
So, about all he can do.
Well, do you know when the house was built? I'm just curious, 'cause
Yeah.
everything is within the 100-foot buffer. Everything.
I want to say the 60s, late
Sheds, everything, yeah.
Yeah,
For us.
yeah, the sheds,
Bigger than the garage.
the sheds in reviewing kind of, you know, first glance of, kind of, I tried to put myself in the mind of the commissioners, and the first thing I saw outside of, you know, there's gotta be a better place to put the leaching field, which, you know, as explained, this is really kind of where it's kind of only gonna get. But then also the sheds in the existing barn, and in looking at building department files, it was signed off by representatives of the conservation department in the early 90s. So,
My name wasn't on it.
no, like I said, it was
It was
just
like Pat Loring, Tom Paul.
it was the conservation department, so it was.
Oh, it wasn't either.
It was, I think, both, I saw both Bill and Chet's names.
Chet, okay.
So, it was, somebody signed off for it.
It was a long time ago.
Does any vegetation need to be removed for this?
Nope, there's a little garden area here, and that's the extent of the vegetation that'll get removed. And this plan is approved by the Westford Board of Health.
Any comments or questions from them?
That's where it has to be.
Yep. Any comments or questions from members of the audience?
Bad, yeah.
I just, again, for the commission's consideration, condition that the erosion controls be inspected.
what?
The erosion controls be inspected prior to the commencement of work.
So can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I want a picture of the clock.
Not yet.
We're not done.
No, we still got
We've
to,
got a couple of discussion items left.
Oh my God, I forgot the other side.
okay.
Okay.
I have, so Edward Woods Conservation Area, the restoration of the disturbed area.
So we,
Where are you?
Edwards Woods.
Edwards.
Okay.
Edward Woods.
I can't hear you clearly, so.
So I was just down there a couple days ago. I did not have my phone on me, so I didn't take any pictures, but there is now a new dirt bike trail on our property out there. So there's now 2 dirt bike trails that have been created by one house right there.
I'll go, with there being snow, I envision there's probably tracks going to and from.
They're actually the entrance to the new trail. So if you get to the end of the road and you take a left, the new trail is in between our existing trail and their property, and there's a entrance on their property from.
That helps.
Yeah.
That helps with, saying, I'm pretty sure this is you, as opposed to, well, yeah, it's all.
Yeah,
it's
I tried to
neighborhood
look on
hooligans.
GIS to see
Take
where
those
where the
photos.
property line is.
I can
so
swing out
Yeah.
tomorrow and document.
There's been a lot more dumping.
Yeah.
That, so, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, for Freedom Park, I had sent Matt a short email that basically said, these are all the things that we're needing to follow up on with regard to the walkways and repairing the fence and all that kind of stuff. So, because in trying to make more progress here, what I'd like to do, the way we've done with the Stony Brook Conservation Area, is under some of those other larger, more complex items, is kind of boil it down to what are the things that we need to tackle so that we can put a check in it and then get it off the list. So, yes, if this trail, and having somebody to go talk to, but if there are other things that we need to do about the restoration, I think it would be good if we can, take the time to kind of come up with, okay, what are the concrete actions we want to do, so that we can kind of get it to where we can say this has been done. So, it's just my thought for kind of making this list shorter. Okay.
The Summer Village Conservation Restriction Amendment update. I haven't heard anything from their representative, and would be good to touch base. And then the CR 28 Jarvis Hill Estates, the prohibited uses follow-up, I have not had the opportunity to, but with 9 things being issued tonight, I look forward to having.
It's okay.
In the discussion of the 88, Madam Chair, if you don't mind me continuing on.
Go ahead.
Recording the site visit to 88 Tadmuck Road, just occurred during the discussion of the drafted enforcement order. I don't see see there being any site visits to schedule.
Motion to adjourn?
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Can we now take a picture of the clock?
Go for it.